Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Celebration Machine. I'm your host, Pete Hammond. If you're a new subscriber or a new viewer, thank you for tuning in. And if you're someone who's seen a few of my videos, thank you for coming back. Tonight, I want to do a quick little video about journaling, about writing, and especially for men, not to exclude women, but especially for men, as a tool for men to help sort our shit out. I discovered the power of writing long time ago. And I'm not talking about structured writing. I'm talking about just getting the words out onto a page, getting the feelings out onto a page, no matter what it is you're trying to work out, whether it's a job, a relationship, a big decision, or you're just feeling shitty for whatever reason. Sitting down with a notebook and a pen, somewhere quiet with no distractions, maybe a bit of music with no lyrics, and just writing, I feel like this, this is how I feel, whatever. And then you write out everything you're feeling, whatever the problem is. This is the problem I'm experiencing. And then you write everything that's inside you. I did this when I lost my goddamn mind back in the day. I had a nervous breakdown in my early 20s. I was like 20 or 21, which led to cancer, which led to a decade of chaos and trying to figure shit out. But writing was my number one tool. I saw shrinks. I tried all kinds of medications. Nothing worked like writing and breathing. We'll do a video on breathing at some point, but basically those were my two big tools in my toolkit. Every single morning I'd wake up and I'd get a glass of water and I'd sit at the table and I'd start writing, because the thoughts would, as soon as I opened my eyes, the anxiety would hit and the thoughts would start, and it was like a herd of horses coming at me in terms of thoughts and feelings. It was very, very difficult to deal with. And then when I took meds, I'd take a pill or whatever, and I'd get all groggy and just zoned out. And the pills were more of a Band-Aid. But anyway, writing. So you sit down and you write. It has always been my go-to tool. Every major decision I've ever had to make, or when I've been really stuck or really down or really beat up, I would always just sit and write. And I don't know what the hell happens when you write. I mean, so fellas, number one, a lot of us, we talk about my feelings. Obviously, look at me, I'm on a goddamn podcast doing it. But a lot of guys don't want to talk about their feelings. And when they talk with each other, it's always bullshitting. And oftentimes we're drunk or stoned. And I mean, you're talking about things, but it doesn't have the same intimacy as sitting down and writing, okay? Just you and the universe. Even if you don't believe in anything, if you think there's nothing else out there, it's just you doing your thing, that's great. Something happens when you write. So I implore you, write. Sit down and write. Oh, I don't know how to write. It doesn't matter. If you can think, those things you're thinking, write them down, because it gets it out of your head, gets it out of your heart, out of your stomach, out of your guts, out of your body, and it puts it on the page, okay? So my routine was I'd write everything that was bugging me. Just doesn't matter. I would write for pages, front and back. Anything that came to my head, I've lost my mind, I'm going crazy, something's wrong with me, I broke something in my head, I'm nuts, this is terrible, I want to kill myself. If I kill myself, my family will be sad. I can't make my sad. It just on and on and on and on. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, turn the page, write till your friggin' hands sore. And I say use a pen or a pencil and paper, because when you're done writing all that heavy shit, what you do is you go outside or go somewhere safe and you read it out loud. And I would say, all right, universe, whatever you want to use, whatever term you want to use, God, if you're religious and you want to do this, I just say universe because it was like all encompassing, right? All right, universe, this is the shit I want to release. So I would read that letter, dear universe, or dear higher self, or dear Peter. I'd say, universe, I want to release this. And I'd read it. I'd read the whole thing out loud. And then the weird thing that happens is sometimes as you're reading it, you have another emotional release. So let's say a good friend of yours has died, okay? And you're trying to hold it together. You're trying to fucking be stoic and be that tough guy or whatever, when you're trying to just get through the day, or you're not comfortable expressing grief or feeling emotion, but you're just trying to hold it together. So number one, you've written it down, and maybe you cried when you were doing that, or you felt discomfort, or you felt stuff moving around inside yourself. Well, sometimes when you read that out loud, you're going to have an emotional reaction and you might cry, and that's okay. All right. This bullshit about guys not crying, I don't even want to talk about it. It's ridiculous. It's insane. Okay, there's a time when maybe crying's not the best idea, like after you have sex with a woman. I don't know, maybe I'm old school. It's probably not the best time to cry and get all emotional, but hey, that's what you think, Sorry, I'm sure someone is going to see this and be like, don't shame me for crying. It's like crying, and I don't mind being the little spoon. But anyway, getting off topic, getting off track. If you want to cry after sex, go for it. So basically, read it out loud, okay? All the negative shit, read it, hear it, and if you feel something, cry. If you need to scream, scream. If you need to just emote what you need to emote. When you're done, burn it. Okay? Safely. For God's sakes, be safe. Have a bowl or a fire pit, or if you live in the city, just go to a parking lot or somewhere where you're not going to get cops called on you, and burn it. Okay? If there's high winds, for God's sakes, have it in a container, but just burn it and just say thank you. Thank you for taking this. Universe, God, whatever. Thank you for taking this from me, right? And just let it go. Then the next step is sit down again and write out what you want to feel. And when I say what you want to feel, it's what you want to feel, because it took me a long time to figure this out, but the emotion is the prayer. And I think Pete Bernard, who's an incredible shaman in this area here in the Outaouais region, I think I heard him say that first, and it's so powerful and it's so true. The emotion is the prayer, meaning whatever you want to experience, the feeling of it is what the universe tends to respond to. So in my own personal case, after a particularly difficult relationship, I wanted to figure out why I was unsuccessful in relationships for the most part. And I started asking myself, like, well, what does love feel like? What's my reference point for love, you know? And at that point, I was just kind of confused about what that even, because my feelings were muddled up, and I was more angry than anything at that point, and frustrated. So I couldn't feel anything but anger and frustration. But underneath all that was hurt, right? It was pain and grief and all kinds of shit that I didn't like or want to feel. So I started writing, well, what does love feel like? You know, what is love? What does it feel like? I had to think about it. Well, shit, I guess it feels like being safe. Again, as a man, that's a weird thing to say, because we're supposed to be these protectors and, which you can be, but it's also good to be healthy and balanced emotionally. And to feel safe, what's that mean? It means my system's not on high alert and I'm not in survival mode. I'm not in defensive mode. I don't feel like I'm under attack. I don't feel like I've got crosshairs on me. I don't feel like I'm being threatened in any way. And for a lot of my life, I lived like that without even knowing it. Maybe if you've had cancer or some kind of heavy experience like that, a lot of times you're in survival mode and you don't even realize it. You don't realize you're in survival mode. So recognizing the emotional landscape you're in is super important. And I realized that I didn't feel safe, and that had nothing really to do with the relationship I was in at the time. That was on me. I entered that relationship. In fact, all my relationships in my 20s, I entered in a survival mode state, which meant I was on high alert, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that was because I'd finished cancer treatment and then didn't really, I would journal and I would do all these things, but I was kind of gun shy because I'd entered the cancer experience from a very damaged mental health aspect. So I had to relearn how to feel. I don't want to use the word normal because normal is different for everyone, but I had to relearn what it meant to feel safe in my own body and safe in the world and okay. Let's just use that word. I'd learn how to feel okay. So what did that feel like? Well, I'm calm. I could breathe. I'm relaxed. I'm not filled with tension. I'm not filled with cortisol. I'm not filled with anxiety. I'm just calm. Okay. And I was in a state where my mind was calm. So I had to sort of teach myself that. So, okay, love is feeling safe in my body, feeling safe in my environment. What else does it mean? It means being seen for who you are and accepted for who you are, warts and all. Okay. Not trying to put on a show, not trying to act a certain way, thinking that that's what the other person would like. Just learning how to be yourself with all your bullshit and all your pain and all your mistakes you've ever made, just showing up and not leading with it, but just being like okay with the fact that you are a human being that has had the shit kicked out of you maybe by life. And you don't have all the parts for the rebuild, but you know what? You're rolling it down the road to your best of abilities. And just coming to terms with the fact that you're not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And if you're waiting to be perfect for someone, which is the wrong idea, but just showing up, knowing that you're going to do the best you can and have someone recognize the fact that you're not perfect and you're not this polished thing, that they see you for where you're at. And so that was number 2, just being seen and being accepted for the place I was in. The calmness was huge though, like feeling calm. And again, this isn't even like thinking about looks. Like we've all met people that, oh wow, they're really good looking or whatever. And someone's personality can make them beautiful or really, really ugly. So being calm, being understood, like just being able to have conversations about values and about how you navigate the world morally and and not being afraid to say what you really believe. Because if you're not in alignment with beliefs, sometimes you don't have to be in total alignment, but being in alignment with beliefs with someone else is a really beautiful, powerful thing, because then you're in alignment with each other. Now, mind you, all this is after working on yourself and figuring out your own shit. And you can do that as a couple, but know that you're two people trying to figure stuff out. And as long as you're moving in the right direction together, you're both traveling down the same road. You know, one of you might be in the ditch and you're on the pavement, and then vice versa, or maybe both of you in the ditch. But as long as you're heading in the right direction, you know, you're taking that journey together, you're going to be okay. So being in alignment with yourself, being in alignment with your values, being seen, being calm. Those were huge, huge, huge. Just feeling calm, feeling at home, essentially. And I had to learn what that feeling was to be at home again. So once I kind of figured all that out, that was the second letter, was how do I want to feel? But the first part of it was like an exploration of that. Like, well, I literally would write, I don't know how to feel. I don't know what I want to feel. I'm still feeling all this crazy shit. So it's like I had to write to get through, to excavate through all the shit that I was feeling, to get down into the vulnerability, right? To get into that space where you just, your true self, and or at least the most powerful, truest feeling you're feeling in the moment. And you know, I discovered a deep sadness and a deep grief. But then I explored that grief, and it ended up being like this hybrid feeling of, again, going back to my own experience as a cancer, as someone who, I hate the word survivor, but as a cancer veteran, like, because it's like going through an experience. Survivor feels like it's like lack. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm a survivor. It can mean both things, but for me, it always felt like it was like more lack, you know, like I survived something instead of I'm a veteran of an experience, right? I've gone through something that I've learned from, and that is not a bad thing. Even though there's a lot of difficult things in the experience, it's not a bad thing. So I'd write and I would say, okay, well, that grief, what is it? You know, what is the grief? Well, it was tied to, I realized deep down, one of the core things I took away from going through all the shit I'd gone through was that I had a deep reverence for life. I had a deep respect for life, but it felt like almost a sadness, you know, like almost like a melancholy. It wasn't like, and I've been guilty of toxic positivity, feeling absolutely out of my goddamn mind, but faking it till I made it and pretending that, you know, you got to be positive and but that was really unhealthy and not sincere or genuine. Instead of just saying, look, I feel nuts, I feel sad, I feel fucked up, but I'm still going to try and make you laugh, and I'm still going to have a smile, and I'm still going to try and do the best I can with what I have in the moment. But yeah, that grief, it was like grief and sadness had a baby with happiness and joy. And to me, I guess that's the human condition, right? Like, it's a mixture of those things. It's never always going to be super positive, and it's never always going to be super fucking heavy. It's going to change, and it's going to move, and it's going to maybe be an amalgamation of all those things. And sometimes you'll feel nothing when you get overloaded with emotion, which I did for years. I felt nothing for long periods of time. I thought, fuck, maybe I'm a psychopath, you know, but no, we're complex creatures, and it's difficult to be on this planet sometimes and to be a spirit in a human body having this experience. But the older I get, the more I play with it. It's not as serious as when I was 20. And I guess, you know, the more shit you go through, and the more death, and the more people you lose, and the more people you meet, and the more experiences you have, you know, if you're conscious of it and you're trying to still remain a white belt, have the white belt mentality where you're learning constantly, it becomes more of a playful thing. And I know that sounds tough, especially if you're going through it and you're having a hard time, but I implore you to try, even in the hard times, to try and find a little bit of lightness in it, or at least explore it in a more gentle way with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. So when you write and you dig into those feelings, you might find these hybrid feelings that you can't even really put words, but just do your best. Like, it sort of feels like this, it sort of feels like that. Because remember, nobody's going to read this, ever. This is just for you, okay? So just write. And so then I would write, okay, well, I want to feel these things, and I want to laugh. I don't want to walk on eggshells, right? I want to wake up in the morning with my partner, and I don't want to walk on eggshells. And that includes, as we get older, women go through perimenopause, they go through menopause, they go through crazy shit. I'm going to do a video on that, because boys, like, relationships get blown up, especially when women are going through perimenopause, because it's a 10-year process of them completely being rewired. And it's brutal, because there's no information out there, not a lot of information. There's more now, but I mean, for years and years and years, women just suffered through this shit, and it's brutal. But it's also an opportunity to learn and to grow as a couple, right? So, and my wife has educated the hell out of me about that, because I'm obviously open to it, and she's going through it. And I just think to myself how amazing it would have been to have her when I was going through cancer treatment. Because, like, my God, just the way we communicate and the way that we navigate minefields together, we're a team. And it's always, we're both trying to help the other person be the best person they could be. And I know that sounds cheesy, and that would have made me sick to hear years ago. But I won the lottery in my relationship, but I also worked my fucking ass off to get to a point where I could be the person to meet the person that I'm with now. Okay. And I'm 52, there might not be a lot of road ahead of me. I don't know how long I'm going to live, but that's a long ass time to start to feel real happiness. And if you're a young person watching this, don't get down because I said that. I'm not saying I wasn't happy through life, but I had a crazy life emotionally where I struggled, with all kinds of shit, depression and anxiety, but you just try and find your way. So I get off track if you haven't noticed, but writing down how you want to feel is important and you have to feel it. So when I write about being calm, I sat and breathed like, well, what does that feel like? If I couldn't feel in the moment, I tried to think of a memory that made me feel that way in the moment. You know what I mean? So it was like, I try and tie either a memory to it or a future memory, right? Or something that hasn't happened yet. Like see myself happy with someone who I don't even see, just like walking down the road or walking, in the woods, holding hands with someone and trying to get that feeling going of what that would feel like to be safe and happy and just at ease, right? At ease with myself and with that person. And it's not like a one-time thing. This took a lot. But when I wrote that letter, I took it outside. The last time I did it before I met my wife, it was different. I felt some tumblers click. Something had happened when I burned it, and I really meant it. And maybe it was just the result of a bunch of work, putting the reps in. But, 3 weeks later, we started talking. But I remember I was reading it out loud, and I was crying, and I was feeling all this shit. And then I burned it, just said, okay, fuck, there it is, delivered it. And then I said, thank you. And then when that negative shit would start, I'd stop it. I recognize it. Okay, yeah, you're going down that path. And then I try and get back to what I want to feel. I didn't ignore the feelings. I recognized them. I said, okay, hey, that dog comes in the room. I pet it. Yeah, I see you. But you can walk with me. Like Winston Churchill said about depression, it's the dog that walks with them sometimes. And me and all my craziness, we just walked together. And eventually I ended up getting to a place where I could be the person that felt like I deserved the kind of love I was asking for. Because that's another big one is, do you really feel like you deserve love? And a lot of people will tell you no, which is super fucking sad because everyone deserves love, Even the most horrible people in the world, unless you're born wired differently, something happened to you that made you into a monster. And I don't condone behavior that hurts anybody, but I don't think there's a lot of people that are truly born evil. They're out there, probably, but I think a lot of people are just real damaged and they navigate the world with damaged filters and equipment, and it takes them down paths that are horrible. So write the negative, heavy letter, not even negative, because that's just all fuel, right? It's all just emotion. But the darker, heavier stuff, write that one first, let it go, get it out of you. Then the next letter is what you want to feel, the lighter stuff, and even the kind of life you want to lead, right? But it's about the feelings. It's not, I want a Ferrari and a mansion and $10 million in the bank. That's all great. But the feeling of that can be had living in a storage unit, which is another thing I did. Well, that's another video. But one of the most happy moments in my life was being in a storage unit with a cup of coffee. I lived there for a few months, but I just was out of something that was difficult. And I felt like peace for the first time in a long time, even though I was in a goddamn storage unit. But anyway, you don't need a Ferrari and 10 million in the bank to feel peace. And you don't need any of that shit to feel contentment. You can feel it with nothing. It's better to have all those things, I'm sure, or probably more fun, but you really don't need to wait to be happy to have X, whatever that is, that thing. In fact, whatever that is will come quicker when you are happy, when you are in that feeling. So the emotion is the prayer, and the writing is super important. And to me anyway, and don't worry about spelling mistakes. Don't worry about anything. Just worry about being honest. Just show up to the page and just tell yourself and the universe, whatever, I'm going to be honest. Just write. And you might get all weird. You might feel uncomfortable, and just write. Just write. Good and bad. Get it out of you. Read it out loud. Burn it. Try it out. It's really helped for me. It doesn't involve other people because we all know what happens when you bring your problems to people. They end up talking about their problems, which is great. That's how we bond. But sometimes it's hard to find a good listener and someone who will just feed back what you're telling them and not make it about them. And I don't mean to try and make people feel like shit because we're all just trying to figure this life out together. But I guess we could do another video about being an active listener, and which has come in real handy as a funeral guy, as a funeral celebrant. For those that don't know, I do funerals as a celebrant. I run them. And learning how to listen to people, and I'm a talker. I had to learn it. It's not an easy thing, but learning how to listen, actively listen, is a superpower, and it's important too. But you got to do that for yourself, right? You got to learn how to listen to yourself. Feel, more important. And feelings are scary for a lot of people. Feelings are overwhelming. Anxiety and excitement are like, they're on that same line together, and depending on the state of mind you're in, it can go either way. So, and it can cripple you. So just start that process. Do yourself a favor. Try it. Try it for one day. Try it one time. I promise you, you're going to get something out of it. Okay. So that's the video for tonight. It's just something that's really helped me, and I really hope that you try it. I actually just burned a journal that I'd had when I lost my mind, the original one, and I held on to it because I couldn't let it go, right? That's another thing. If you go to burn it and it feels like, oh my God, I can't let it go, that just shows how important it is to you. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means, oh shit, like this is important, right? If I don't want to let it go, it's important, even if it's something really horrible. Because sometimes that stuff is ours. It becomes our story and it becomes our identity, and we don't want to let it go because what's on the other side of that? Who am I without my story? Who am I without my pain? Who am I, right? Well, you're a goddamn ghost. You're a spirit. You're pure consciousness and love wrapped up in this human physical drama is what I think we are. But that's another video. So sorry for the rambling, but it's what I do. Try it out, okay? See if it works. If it does, or if you've done it before, throw something in the comments. Hey, man, this worked for me, or try it. If you've got other around journaling and writing that work, in the comments, help somebody out, So that's it for tonight. I hope you all are doing well, and the day where all we have is each other. I thank you for your time. This is a celebration machine. Catch you on the next one. Bye for now.